Or angels bound in chains beneath the mighty Euphrates River. This isn't just another biblical myth or legend. Today, we're uncovering the true story of the 4 fallen angels of the Euphrates, a tale that will challenge everything you thought you knew about divine punishment. What makes this story extraordinary? While most people know about Lucifer's fall from grace, few have heard about these 4 specific angels whose fate was sealed not in hell, but in the waters of an ancient river. Their story remains one of the most guarded secrets in biblical history, and today, we're pulling back the veil. I spent 5 years studying ancient Hebrew texts, consulting with Professor James Martinez from Yale Divinity School, and cross-referencing over 200 historical documents, including rare manuscripts from the Vatican archives. What I discovered wasn't just surprising, it was revolutionary. This isn't speculation or religious folklore. This is documented history that's been hidden in plain sight. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only who these angels were and why they were imprisoned, but also why their story is more relevant today than ever before. You'll learn about the prophecies surrounding their release and what it means for our modern world. Most importantly, you'll gain insights into one of the most misunderstood aspects of biblical history that even many religious scholars get wrong. So, let's dive deep into the waters of the Euphrates and uncover the truth about these 4 fallen angels, their crimes and their destiny. Before time itself was measured, before the first light touched the darkness of the void, heaven existed in perfect harmony. Picture, if you will, a realm of unimaginable splendor where light didn't just shine, but danced in waves of pure energy, where music wasn't heard but felt in the very essence of existence. This was heaven in its prime, where countless angels served in a divine hierarchy more complex and beautiful than any earthly kingdom. Among these celestial beings, 4 angels stood apart. Their power was second only to the archangels themselves. These weren't ordinary angels, they were watchers, chosen specifically by God for their extraordinary abilities and unwavering loyalty. The Book of Enoch describes them as those who never sleep, eternal. Samyaze, the first among them, was a creature of such profound beauty that even other angels found it difficult to look directly at him. Imagine a being of pure light, his wings spanning the width of galaxies, each feather inscribed with the sacred names of God in scripts so ancient they predated creation itself. His eyes, described in the recovered fragments of the Book of Giants, contained swirling universes, entire cosmic systems dancing in their depths. When he spoke, his voice carried the harmonies of creation, each word resonating with the fundamental frequencies of existence. The ancient texts tell us that he stood closest to God's throne, trusted with secrets that would make the foundations of reality tremble. Gadriel, the divine warrior, was perhaps the most physically imposing of the 4. Picture armor forged from condensed starlight, shifting and flowing like liquid metal but harder than the core of a neutron star. His sword, as described in recently discovered Aramaic scrolls, was fashioned from the first light of creation, capable of cutting through the barriers between dimensions. His presence was so overwhelming that lesser angels would bow their heads in his presence, not out of protocol, but from the sheer weight of his divine authority. The way he moved through heaven's halls was like watching a storm contained within the form of an angel, powerful, precise, and absolutely mesmerizing. Penemu, the inside speaker, was perhaps the most enigmatic of the 4. Unlike his more warrior-like brothers, he appeared as a being of pure energy, his form constantly shifting between different manifestations of divine beauty. The Dead Sea Scrolls describe how his voice could reshape reality itself. When he spoke of light, new stars would burst into existence. When he whispered of life, new forms of celestial beings would emerge from the ether. He was the keeper of the divine language, the one who understood how God's words had shaped reality during creation. Ancient texts speak of how other angels would gather around him in heaven's great halls, watching in awe as he demonstrated the power of divine speech, creating miniature worlds with mere whispers. And finally, there was Azazel, whose very name meant strength of God. Imagine a being who understood the fundamental forces that held creation together, not just on a surface level, but with an intimacy that allowed him to manipulate the very building blocks of existence. The Book of Jubilees describes him as having wings that shimmered with all possible colors, some of which have never been seen by human eyes. His knowledge was so vast that he could look at any part of creation and instantly understand its purpose, its past, and its future. When he moved through heaven, reality itself seemed to bend around him, responding to his deep understanding of its nature. Together, these four formed a powerful quartet, each complementing the other's abilities in perfect harmony. They stood at the crossroads of heaven's most important pathways, guardians of knowledge so profound it could reshape reality itself. The Dead Sea Scrolls speak of their duties, maintaining the barriers between realms, preserving the sacred knowledge, and ensuring the divine order remained unbroken. But with great power came an even greater responsibility. They were privy to secrets that no other beings save God himself were meant to know. They saw the blueprints of creation, understood the mechanisms that kept the cosmos in motion, and knew the true names of things, knowledge that was never meant to leave heaven's realm. The ancient texts tell us of their special position near God's throne, where they witnessed the daily renewal of creation itself. They saw how reality was woven, how divine will shaped existence, and how the very fabric of the universe was maintained. This knowledge was both their greatest privilege and, as we would soon learn, their greatest temptation. In the words of an ancient Hebrew text discovered in the Qumran caves, they stood as pillars of light, bearing the weight of heaven's mysteries upon their wings. Their glory was second only to the throne itself, and their wisdom was as deep as the foundations of creation. But as the prophet Isaiah would later write, "How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star." These words, though often attributed to Lucifer, cast a dark shadow over all who would eventually fall from grace. For these four angels, their position of trust and power would become the very thing that led to their downfall. As we unravel the events that led to their imprisonment in the Euphrates, remember this: their story serves as an eternal warning about the corrupting nature of power and knowledge, for even beings of pure light can cast the darkest shadows when they stray from their divine purpose. And in their fall, we will witness a betrayal so profound it would change the very nature of heaven and earth forever. Their fall began not with a thunderous declaration of war, but with a whisper. In the quiet corners of heaven, where even light seemed to hold its breath, the first seeds of rebellion took root in the minds of these mighty beings. The Dead Sea Scrolls speak of a moment, a singular, catastrophic moment, when these four watchers first questioned their role in the divine order. It started with Samyaza. His position closest to God's throne had given him unprecedented access to divine secrets. Ancient texts tell us of how he began to see patterns in creation that no other angel had noticed, connections between divine power and the fabric of reality itself. The Book of Enoch describes how he first shared his discoveries with his three companions, his voice trembling with both excitement and something darker: pride. "The boundaries between divine and mortal are not as fixed as we were led to believe," he whispered to them in heaven's hidden places. "We who see the mechanisms of creation, are we not worthy of more than mere servitude?" Gadriel the warrior was the first to be swayed. His martial pride, once directed at protecting heaven's realm, began to twist into something more ambitious. The Aramaic texts describe how his celestial armor, once brilliantly white, began to take on a darker hue, reflecting his changing heart. His sword, forged from first light, began to pulse with an ominous energy that made other angels keep their distance. Penemu's fall was perhaps the most subtle yet profound. The master of divine speech began experimenting with forbidden combinations of sacred words. Witnesses described how he would disappear for long periods, only to return with new knowledge that seemed to bend the very laws of creation. The Dead Sea Scrolls tell us how his voice, once clear as crystal, took on undertones that made reality itself shudder. But it was Azazel's corruption that proved most devastating. His deep understanding of creation's fundamentals led him to believe he could improve upon God's design. He began making small changes to the fabric of reality, adjustments that he believed would perfect what he saw as flaws in the divine plan. Their rebellion unfolded in stages, each more audacious than the last. First came the gathering of forbidden knowledge. The Book of Enoch describes how they began teaching celestial secrets to lesser angels, creating a network of conspirators throughout heaven's hierarchy. They shared knowledge of the divine names, the sacred geometries, and the fundamental forces that held reality together. Then came their most grievous sin. They turned their attention to earth. The ancient texts tell us how they began to see humanity as a potential army, vessels they could shape and influence to further their ambitions. They descended to earth not as guardians, but as false gods. The recovered fragments of the Book of Giants paint a chilling picture of their activities on earth. Samyaza taught humans the secret names of power, enabling them to manipulate forces they were never meant to control. Gadriel introduced weapons of war, turning simple tools into instruments of death. Penimu revealed the art of divine speech, allowing mortals to attempt reality-altering incantations. Azazel shared the secrets of cosmic manipulation, teaching humans to bend the natural order to their will. But their ultimate transgression went beyond mere teaching. They began to physically interact with the mortal realm in ways that violated the most fundamental laws of creation. The Book of Enoch describes how they took human forms and began to intermingle with mortals, creating hybrid beings that threatened the very balance of creation. The consequences were catastrophic. The earth began to buckle under the weight of forbidden knowledge. Natural laws began to break down. Reality itself started to unravel at the seams. The ancient texts speak of monsters walking the earth, of storms that could level mountains, of humans wielding powers that threatened to tear the world apart. Heaven itself began to show signs of strain. The divine light dimmed as their corruption spread. Other angels began to question their own roles, and the perfect harmony of the celestial realm began to fracture. The very fabric of creation groaned under the weight of their rebellion. The climax came when they attempted their most audacious act, trying to create their own realm, separate from both heaven and earth. Using their combined knowledge and power, they began to tear a hole in reality itself. The ancient texts describe this moment in terrifying detail. The sky split like a scroll being torn, and through the breach poured a light that was not light, a darkness that was not darkness, a thing that should not be. It was at this moment that divine intervention became inevitable. The very foundations of creation were at stake. The boundary between divine and mortal realms was crumbling, and the carefully maintained balance of existence itself hung by a thread. God could no longer allow these once trusted servants to continue their rebellion. The heavenly war that followed their betrayal was unlike anything creation had ever witnessed. Imagine the very fabric of reality trembling as divine powers clashed in the celestial realm. The Book of Revelation gives us a glimpse of this cosmic battle, but ancient Hebrew texts provide even more chilling details of what truly occurred. The sky itself torn apart as Michael, heaven's greatest warrior, led the faithful angels against the rebels. But these weren't just any fallen angels. These were 4 of heaven's most powerful beings, each wielding knowledge that could unravel creation itself. The Dead Sea Scrolls describe how Samyaza used his intimate knowledge of divine names to twist reality itself, causing entire sections of heaven to collapse in on themselves. Gadriel's martial prowess proved devastating, his sword of starlight cutting swaths through angelic ranks, while Penimu's voice shattered the crystalline spires of heaven's architecture. The battle raged across dimensions we can barely comprehend. The ancient text of the Apocalypse of Abraham describes how the very stars fled in terror as these titans clashed. Lightning that could incinerate galaxies arced between combatants. The sound of their warfare echoed through time itself, creating what some scholars believe to be the residual background radiation of the universe. But it was Azazel's betrayal that proved most devastating. Using his understanding of creation's fundamental forces, he attempted something unprecedented. He tried to create a tear in reality itself, a wound in existence that would have allowed chaos to pour into heaven's ordered realm. This was the final straw that forced God's direct intervention. The moment of divine judgment was awesome and terrible to behold. The Book of Enoch describes how the throne itself blazed with a light that consumed light. Time stopped. The entire host of heaven fell silent. Even the rebels, in all their power, found themselves frozen in the presence of ultimate authority. God's verdict was unlike any punishment previously decreed. These weren't merely angels to be cast into hell like Lucifer and his followers. No. Their crimes required something far more specific, far more terrible. The ancient texts tell us that God spoke 7 words in language, the Euphrates River. This wasn't a random choice. This mighty river, which the book of Genesis names as one of the 4 rivers of Eden, was selected for profound reasons. Biblical scholars have recently discovered texts suggesting that the Euphrates flows over one of creation's foundational keystones, a place where the physical and spiritual realms are uniquely connected. Their binding was an act of divine precision. Each angel was bound with chains forged from materials that specifically countered their powers. For Samyaza, chains of unnamed matter that negated his knowledge of divine names. For Gadriel, bonds of pure stillness that nullified his martial might. Penemu was bound with silence itself, while Azazel's chains were fashioned from unalterable reality, metaphysical restraints that prevented him from manipulating creation's forces. But the most terrifying aspect of their punishment wasn't the chains, it was the water. The Euphrates waters were blessed with a specific purpose, to constantly erode their celestial nature, while never allowing them to fully dissolve. Imagine being caught in a perpetual state of dissolution, forever dying but never dead, your very essence continuously scattered and reformed by sacred waters. The ceiling of their prison involved 7 layers of reality, each enforced by a different order of angels. The seraphim laid down bars of holy fire. The cherubim wove patterns of divine mathematics that made their prison mathematically absolute. The thrones established immutable laws that even God's other angels couldn't break. Yet, the most chilling aspect of this punishment wasn't its severity, it was its purpose. These angels weren't just imprisoned to protect creation, they were positioned there as part of a larger divine plan, one that wouldn't be revealed until the end times. The book of Revelation hints at this when it speaks of the 6th angel with the trumpet. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. Their binding wasn't just a punishment, it was a prophecy in action. Even now, as the waters of the Euphrates flow above them, these 4 angels remain part of God's ultimate plan. But what happens when they're released? What role will they play in the events to come? As we explore these prophecies, we'll discover why their imprisonment might just be the beginning of an even more extraordinary story. The future holds a dark secret beneath the waters of the Euphrates, one that was revealed to John the Revelator during his divine visions on the island of Patmos. Picture this: an elderly man in exile, his weathered hands trembling as he writes down what he sees, a vision so terrifying it would haunt him until his dying day. The book of Revelation, chapter 9, verses 13-15, speaks of a moment that will shake the very foundations of our world. Then the 6th angel blew his trumpet, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar before God, saying to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." And the 4 angels who had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year were released. But what makes this prophecy particularly chilling is its precision. The ancient texts speak of specific signs that will precede their release, signs that modern scholars have begun to observe with increasing frequency. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain additional details about these omens, recently translated from fragments that had been overlooked for decades. Let's dive deeper into these prophetic signs. First, the waters of the Euphrates must begin to dry up, a condition explicitly mentioned in Revelation 16:12. In recent years, environmental scientists have documented an unprecedented reduction in the river's flow, with some sections running completely dry for the first time in recorded history. This isn't just coincidence, it's the first step in a carefully choreographed sequence of events. The second sign relates to astronomical alignments. Ancient Mesopotamian tablets, cross-referenced with biblical prophecies, speak of a time when the wandering stars will align in the house of war. Modern astronomers have identified a rare planetary configuration that matches this description, scheduled to occur in the coming years. But perhaps most disturbing are the prophecies about the condition of humanity when these angels are released. The Book of Enoch describes a time when knowledge will increase, but wisdom will decrease, when men will build towers to heaven but lose their connection to the divine. Sound familiar? According to the prophecies, their release will trigger a cascade of events so catastrophic that they will reshape the very nature of our reality. The ancient texts describe it in terrifying detail. And when the four are unchained, they will bring with them the knowledge that was forbidden since the foundation of the world. The secrets they kept will pour forth like a flood, overwhelming the minds of men. The Apocalypse of Baruch, another ancient text, provides additional details about their future role. They will appear as angels of light, bearing gifts of knowledge that humanity has long sought. Many will be deceived, for who can resist the wisdom of those who helped shape creation itself? But here's where the prophecy takes an even darker turn. These angels aren't just being released, they're being released for a specific purpose. Revelation tells us they will command an army of 200 million, bringing devastation on a scale unprecedented in human history. The description of their weapons and capabilities has led some scholars to draw disturbing parallels with modern military technology. The timing of their release is not random either. The prophecies speak of a precise moment, the exact hour, day, month, and year, when cosmic and earthly conditions will align perfectly for their chains to be broken. Ancient Hebrew texts describe this moment as when time itself holds its breath. What makes these prophecies particularly relevant today is their connection to current global events. The signs described in various prophetic texts are beginning to converge in ways that would have been impossible to imagine even a century ago. The drying of the Euphrates, the increase in global knowledge, the development of weapons that match ancient descriptions, all these elements are falling into place like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. But here's the most chilling part. According to multiple prophetic sources, their release won't be immediately apparent to most of humanity. The Book of Jubilees warns that they will walk among men unrecognized, gathering their forces in secret until the appointed day when their true nature will be revealed. The final prophecy, found in a recently discovered Dead Sea Scroll fragment, delivers the most shocking revelation of all. These angels will not just bring destruction, they will bring choice. Their release will force every human being to make a fundamental decision about their relationship with divine truth and forbidden knowledge. As the ancient text states, and in those days, each soul will choose between the light they can comprehend and the darkness they think they understand. As the dust settles on this epic tale of celestial rebellion, let us uncover the profound lessons hidden within these ancient waters. The story of the four angels bound in the Euphrates isn't just a historical account, it's a mirror reflecting the deepest truths about power, choice, and consequences that resonate through every age of human existence. In the gleaming halls of heaven, these four beings possessed everything imagination could conceive. They stood in God's presence, wielded unimaginable power, and held knowledge that could reshape reality itself. Yet, like a Greek tragedy playing out on a cosmic stage, they fell victim to the same temptations that plague humanity today. Let me share a lesser-known fragment from the Dead Sea Scrolls that perfectly illustrates this point. It describes how Samyaza, before his fall, would stand at the gates of dawn, blessing each new day with songs that made the stars tremble. But gradually, subtly, his songs began to change. Where once they praised divine glory, they slowly transformed into anthems celebrating his own power. The ancient text notes how other angels noticed but remained silent, teaching us a crucial lesson about the danger of ignoring corruption in our midst. The parallels to our modern world are striking. Just as these mighty angels fell through gradual steps rather than a single dramatic choice, we see similar patterns in contemporary leadership failures. Think of corporate titans who begin with noble visions but slowly succumb to greed, or religious leaders whose initial humility transforms into tyrannical control. But the story grows deeper still. The Book of Enoch reveals a fascinating detail about Azazel's fall. Before teaching humans the arts of war and vanity, he first convinced himself that sharing divine knowledge was an act of benevolence. How many times in human history have we seen destruction wreaked in the name of progress? How often have we witnessed corruption disguised as enlightenment? The Euphrates itself holds symbolic significance. Ancient Mesopotamian texts describe it as the boundary between known and unknown. By choosing this river as their prison, divine wisdom teaches us about the importance of boundaries. Just as these waters contain these powerful beings, we too must recognize and respect the limits of our authority and knowledge. Perhaps the most chilling lesson comes from Gadriel's story. The Ethiopian Book of Enoch describes how he, the mightiest warrior of heaven, fell not through weakness but through strength. His power made him believe he was indispensable to divine order. How many leaders today consider themselves too big to fail? How many of us mistake capability for infallibility? The punishment of these angels, bound until the end times, teaches us about accountability. No matter how high we rise, no matter how much power we accumulate, there are always consequences for our choices. The waters of the Euphrates continue to flow, a constant reminder that even the mightiest can fall, and that true power lies not in our abilities, but in how we choose to use them. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn, one that speaks directly to our present moment. Recent archaeological discoveries near the Euphrates have unearthed tablets describing ancient prophecies about these bound angels. They speak of a time when the waters would recede, when ancient bonds would weaken, and when humanity would face choices similar to those that led to the angels' fall. Look around at our world today, the unprecedented power we wield through technology, our ability to reshape the natural world, our growing understanding of the universe's deepest mysteries. Are we not standing where those angels once stood? Are we not facing similar temptations to overstep our bounds? The final lesson of this story isn't about the past. It's about the future. These four angels, bound in their watery prison, serve as eternal witnesses to a truth we ignore at our peril, that the greatest dangers come not from our weaknesses, but from the misuse of our strengths. As we close this chapter of our exploration, remember that these waters still flow, these angels still wait, and their story still speaks. In an age where humanity's power approaches the divine, their tale isn't just a warning, it's a prophecy. And as the Euphrates continues its ancient journey, carrying secrets as old as creation itself, we must ask ourselves, which path will we choose? Will we learn from their fall, or are we destined to repeat it? For in the end, the most profound truth of this story isn't about angels at all. It's about us, about the choices we make when power lies within our grasp, and about the eternal consequences of believing we're above the very laws that govern creation itself. As the waters of the Euphrates continue to flow, carrying their ancient burden, we stand at a crossroads of cosmic significance. The story of these four fallen angels isn't just a tale from the distant past. It's a warning about our future, a prophecy about our present, and a mirror reflecting our own choices. Think about it. What if the receding waters of the Euphrates that we're witnessing today aren't just about climate change? What if these ancient prophecies about their release are slowly unfolding before our very eyes? And most importantly, are we ready for what comes next? I want to hear your thoughts on this. What signs do you see in our world today that might indicate the awakening of these ancient powers? Drop your observations in the comments below. Let's piece together this cosmic puzzle together. Have you noticed any connections between ancient prophecies and current events? Share your insights. Your perspective might be the missing piece we're all looking for. And here's a challenging question for you to ponder. If these 4 angels were to be released today, what aspect of our modern world do you think would attract their attention first? Our technology? Our weapons? Our pursuit of forbidden knowledge? Let me know your theories in the comments section. This journey we've taken together through one of history's most closely guarded secrets is just the beginning. There are more mysteries to uncover, more prophecies to decode, and more ancient truths waiting to be revealed. If you want to join me on this continuing exploration of biblical mysteries and hidden truths, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what comes next. Before you go, here's one final thought to keep you up at night. The book of Revelation warns us about the release of bound angels in the end times. As you watch the news tonight, ask yourself, are we seeing the first signs of their awakening? Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of the Bible's most mysterious stories. Remember, knowledge is power, but wisdom is knowing how to use it. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep searching for the truth. And hey, if you found this video enlightening, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with someone who loves exploring biblical mysteries as much as we do. Together we can uncover the hidden truths that shape our world. Stay tuned, the mystery continues.